All right, if it's Tuesday, that can mean only one thing. And what does that mean, Mike?
It's Tuesday.
It means it's Tuesday. It means it's time for Comic Book School Live, the show where we talk about the craft and business of making comics. And we're very excited tonight because we got a huge topic. It's called multi-action panels. At least we think it's called multi-action panels. Nobody's really sure. And we brought an expert on to explain it. But before we go any further, I'd like to please introduce my partner. That's you, Mike, as our award-winning writer from the TV stuff, and also a comic book writer. I'll introduce myself as the founder of Comic Book School, also an award-winning writer. And but really, we're going to save the big applause for Pat Quinn, who is just a monster of comic book art. Let's do the cheering again. I've known Pat for a few hundred years now. Pat, actually, this is art that Pat did.
Necrotic.
We published this comic, went ahead, still haven't recovered the money I lost on it. So I have over the years found different ways to reuse Pat's art because he did such a good job and nobody saw it.
And you have some Pat Quinn original art.
We do have some Pat Quinn original art. Pat is also the publisher or the author of a book on comic art and illustration and perspective. Right, Pat? You did some smart stuff, right?
Correct. That was a series of articles in Sketch Magazine that were later collected by the fine folks at Blue Line Pro into that book.
And Pat is also an official. Oh, what did Victor say?
We got Victor Medina. Hello, everyone. I'm looking forward to this one a lot.
And that is correct. You are. That's the correct answer. And and Pat also, Mike, is like the professor of comicology. He actually teaches comic books.
Yeah, I know. It's a strange subject, but it's fantastic.
It is fantastic. So whenever I turn a script into Pat, I know that he's grading me.
Yes, usually
he's also
very poorly.
So much judgment.
So Pat, tonight we asked you to come on because I called you in a panic. Oh wait, Victor has a compliment.
I love that.
Oh, thank you, sir. Really appreciate it.
I can't see the whole thing.
Says I love that perspective book. I still have it on my shelf.
Well, Victor, maybe you should take it off your shelf. I actually don't know if Victor's a good artist or not. We should check to see if Victor is also bigger than me. We know the guys from Australia they're like 6'3", so they've been like, well, I'm only 6'3", mate. I'm like, oh yeah, that's it. All right, so tonight we're going to be talking about writing comics, and the first rule that you learn in writing comics, rule number 1 is 1 action per panel. This is from Scott McCloud's book. By the way, I have provided source links at the end of this slide deck, and I'll be putting them in the show notes. So after the show, you can go and look up a whole bunch of things. What's Blank Stare have to say?
People commit good crimes for that kind of judgment. That's true.
So first, Pat, help me to understand and explain to our audience the 1 action per panel rule, which we will in a moment break that rule and explain why we're breaking the rule.
So the rule set up for ease of audience understanding of the story, as well as for the creators, right? Like if Buddy was to write a panel description that says Johnny picks up the ball and throws it in a single panel, that's tough to do, right? You want to think about 1 verb per panel. So in the Scott McCloud example, right, the panel description might be panel 1. Gentleman reaches up to his hat. Panel 2, he tips his hat. Right? So it's one action to bring the hand up, and the next action, tip it. Now, part of the magic of comics, as McCloud is talking about here, is what's happening between the gutters, right? So the interactivity of comics is our mind filling in the blanks. But if you have too many things, if you have a single character doing too many things in a single panel, it gets tough to understand.
Is somebody running a vacuum cleaner?
He said that that might be my computer making a noise. I'm going to move the computer back over here.
Self-destruct mode.
Is that any better?
That's better, yes.
Yeah, I had to move the laptop away.
Right? Everybody's a critic. Even the computer is like this.
A lot of judgment. A lot of judgment.
A lot of judgment. All right, move the microphone closer. All right, way to throw the beat of the show off. All right, so Pat, as we're looking at this, I think the key thing to remember is that the mind does fill in the blank with action, right? Like there's no motion here.
Right.
We agree that there's motion based on image 1 and image 2, and then that panel in between is where our imagination fills in the blank, right? They're like keyframes.
Yep.
So as a writer, Mike, we know that we're not supposed to have a panel where man is in one panel, has his hat on, and then removes his hat.
Yes.
How would you draw that? You cannot have a panel where the man goes to the window, opens the window, and sticks his head out. That's 3 panels. But now we're going to talk about how we break that rule.
How do we break that rule?
We break that rule first by understanding how to go fast. Comics also provide the illusion of speed, even though it is static. Now I'm going to call on the professor of comics again, Pat Quinn, to explain what's happening here with Scott McCloud demonstrating the different types of speed.
Well, that's exactly what he's doing, right? He's showing us a couple devices that are specific to comics to imply speed and motion. So in the first one, it's just the speed lines, right? It's just the idea that he's moving so fast, it's a blur of motion. You can see the value of the drawing behind the motion is lighter, right? So the blur is affecting what we see behind him. In the second example, the lower left, we see the multiple images of cartoon McCloud in motion, right? That multiple images. If I'm not mistaken, I think Carmine Infantino was the first one to do that. I could be wrong. Silver Age Flash. And then the last version, it's sort of a combination of the two, right? Where we're not spending a lot of time on the individual drawings of the figures, but you've implied motion by adding those additional motion lines within the larger motion lines.
So, Mike, you tracking this? Like, it's all making sense, right?
It's making sense, but I'm also hearing your computer buzzing again.
Still?
Oh, yeah.
This must be a very sensitive microphone. All right.
Can you put something under it?
Well, if I put something over it, then then
it'll overheat. Andrew Campbell. Hey, Andrew Campbell's on. He's saying he's going so fast that I can hear him breaking the sound barrier.
That's right.
That's he also hears that's the sound barrier being broken by my microphone. Move the microphone closer. Is that better?
Yeah, even Blank Stare's saying it's really loud, buddy. I think it's your mic.
No, hold on, let's try. Is that any better?
No. It's a little duller in the background, but it's still there.
How about now?
No.
It's making great TV tonight, huh?
Call IT. Where's
I'm gonna call it. I am IT. I am IT. Is it passable? Can we just
now it's better.
Get through it?
Yeah.
All right, Pat. I understand from many different sources that speed lines are something that are very popular in manga. Can you explain how speed lines work in manga art?
Right. So speed lines, in this example, you're having a combination of things, right? Where the character is moving so fast, or the action in the panel is moving so fast that the world is a blur, right? Whoosh! Everything just happened. What? So it's simultaneously kind of wiping out the background, but also implying how fast the character is moving.
All right. Let me just check my microphone again. Mike, carry on for a moment.
We're gonna have to resettle now for these speed lines in this picture that we're looking at. Is that someone flipping towards us or flipping away?
So it's hard to tell with this one because I don't know the source. Because if this is from a U.S. publication, it's possible that the image was flipped. So if we're reading it as Japanese, we're going right to left. So it would be flipping towards us with this character in the background who is also in motion, right? So you see the bulk of the speed lines are for the character who's flipping, and then the individual character on the left has his own set of speed lines for the motion that he is making.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, he's either coming at us or moving away, depending on our reading pattern, if the image has been flipped.
Yeah.
Once I attempted to draw a panel with a character walking by having 3 shots of him moving forward, and the first thing my girlfriend said to me is like, "Oh, cool! I didn't know he could multiply himself."
There you go.
Yeah, a lot of this is speed lines are inverse of bullet time from the Matrix. It's one way to think of it. I mean, there are instances like in this case, we're meant to imply motion, but it's also moving slow enough that we can see what the character is doing, right? But going back to the earlier comment, there's a lot of this that is specific to comics that those visual devices, we're only going to understand them through experiencing comics multiple times.
Yeah.
So if the girlfriend is a novice reader, yes, it would make complete sense. Like, why are there 6 of these guys?
All right, I think I'm back. You could stop talking.
Get back to you, bud. They haven't flipped the pages in Japanese comics since the 1980s. Oh, Jason knows or Jared knows stuff.
Let's hope so. So if that's the case, then yes, this character is flipping towards us.
Okay.
And perhaps this character on the left is sliding in to take him out from behind.
Oh, okay. It looks like he's got a Thanos gauntlet on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Bud, we covered speed lines, so now we can just end the show. Oh, now his microphone's
You muted.
Oh, Bud, good timing with this one.
How about
now? Oh, you were there for a second. No.
Nope.
Okay, so we're gonna move on here. We're gonna go to what is a multi-action panel? It's a panel that incorporates a single character or object repeated within the same panel to create the illusion of speed. All right. Let's see. Can I move Buddy's? I can't do his slides. Oh, but he's going to do them for us. Okay, here we go. This is Superman. It's Clark Kent changing into Superman. Yeah. So basically what we got here is just the illusion of him taking off his street clothes and getting into Superman garb and flying away.
This is probably the most common manifestation of this device, right? Where we see the single character doing something that we can see, but nobody else around him can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's just for us, the reader, to appreciate, man, he's moving so fast. Nobody else saw that, but I did.
It's the illusion of speed.
Yeah. And here Superman's even coming closer to us, right? See in the far to the right there, his feet are much larger. So the impression of he's moved closer to us as he's turned that corner.
Yeah. Let's see. Drawn Sword says the lighter colors and lines creating the after image effect works well. Oh, yes.
Correct. So this is for comics. This is really a team effort, right? Because the writer may suggest it, the penciler is going to draw it, the inker is going to have to figure out the best approach, and then the colorist has to get on board. Ideally, the editor is above all this, guiding people if the team is not talking amongst themselves. But yeah, clearly the color is lifting a lot of the weight here.
All right. So how about now? Audio okay?
Yeah, you're pretty good. You're a little echoey, but it's fine.
It's good. It'll have to do for tonight, huh?
Okay, it's fine. It'll do.
Good. That'll do, pig. All right. I was looking around, and this was the earliest version. This thing has been floating around on the internet. It looks like a classic, maybe Wayne Boring. I don't know. But I could not get any attribution of it. But it appears to be one of the earliest versions of showing the speed line that suggests he ran into the phone booth and then dashed out as Superman. Not very elaborate, but really in one panel completes the concept.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
yeah,
Pat?
and this could be a tricky one where the novice reader would be like, what is happening? Why is that guy running in and Superman flying out?
That was where I was going with this, which is to say that future, as they started to get a little bit better with it, we start to see how that ghosting effect, and like you said, certain lighter values in the background continue to be there and making that connection. But I would imagine, Pat, by keeping it fairly close, you have a better shot of being able to say, okay, it's the same character, and then he's making the turn, and then he turns this way and then pops out, and his face is only seeing it as he's looking as he comes out.
Right.
What are some of the challenges as an artist in making sure that you have that continuity that is clear for the reader?
Well, number one is working with the writer, right? Understanding what the writer is trying to give you, or the editor is trying to give you if you're working on that cover. With the one on the left, right? So that looks like Nick Cardy. I'd say part of the challenge there is just the alignment, and lucky enough, he's also using the motion lines there, so we can track like, oh, the head's in the same position all the way around, the torso's in the same position all the way around, to really, I would imagine, help himself as he tracks that figure.
There's a lot of drawing going on here for the artist too, right, Pat? This is not the easy way out.
No, and he's, there are a couple of shortcutty things here and there, but like if you look at Superman's head, right, it's first of all, heads and faces are a challenge in and of themselves, but he's rotating that head. We're looking down for 3/4 down shot, and he's going from the front and then 3/4 behind the head from above. So that's artistically
pretty challenging panel. Mike, could you have drawn this, Mike?
I could have drawn this. Yeah, it wouldn't have been hard. I wouldn't have called it challenging, but
Pat Quinn, question for you there.
Do they always track left to right? Suppose that makes it easily readable.
Well, I don't know. We'll have to see what else Buddy has for us to see if there's any variety there. I mean, certainly in a Western reading pattern, it's useful, but it could be a tool for this sort of device could be a tool for moving all around the page.
Now here's something that and you'll see this throughout as a theme, guys. This is perfect for exposition. The problem with comic book exposition is sometimes you have to explain something, and there is nothing worse in comics than two people sitting at a diner explaining something has to happen. Or Peter Parker saying, oh, I must get Aunt May's medicine to her. No, you want to see them doing something. And I remember as a reader, I'd be reading and I could absorb parts of the story and understand what was going on. Now, this one I thought was pretty amazing. I think this was Phil Jimenez who did this cover, and then a cosplayer recreated it in stunning detail. Have you ever seen anything like this? I mean, just incredible.
No, not with the cosplay. That's fun.
That really is. So Pat Loika, I guess is the name. Let's zoom in on Pat Loika's name. I follow Pat Loika on Instagram, and he does all these cosplay things, but the way he replicated this cover is just amazing in the detail. And I think what this does is we've already established, we know exactly who this is, but by showing the initial part of the S then the S, then the logic travels up through the S. This part I don't think works, to be honest with you. I don't think my eye tracks that he's moved off to the left of the screen. I almost think it ends here. I see it better here because there's no logo. But what do you think, Pat? I don't think this part works.
It's a little tricky because it does become primarily a shape, right, rather than the figure. And I believe this is Jorge Jimenez, not Phil. And
Jorge.
His stuff is amazing. I was just reading. I was flipping through a recent Batman issue to see if he had done any of that in the Batman issue, but he hadn't. So it's cool to see that yeah, he does this. And he's a guy who he doesn't necessarily need to do this, right? So this must have been a directive because his figures tend to have a ton of motion already. But I see what you're saying, right? Because the once he turns, it becomes an abstract shape. So unless you're familiar with Superman, you might not be able to piece it together.
Yeah, so that is a multi-action panel that works as a cover. We see that a lot.
Jared said Nightwing 87 2021 had an entire issue of double-page spreads with multi-images in all of them. Bruno,
where were you when I was planning the show and getting images, Jared?
Yeah, Jared, thanks a lot.
Yeah, come on.
Awesome. You got to know what Buddy's planning.
You got to know. I even put the graphic up the night before. All right. This is this was one of my favorite covers when I was growing up as a kid. I absolutely adored this. They did this a lot in the interiors of the books. This is where Spider-Man would be talking about how he has to pick up medication for Aunt May and how, he's got to get to class and he's got to also fight the lizard and things like that. It looked, I don't know who this already, it says Keith Pollard. And then this was some sort of variant. I don't know if this was Ditko or somebody drawing like Ditko. I'm not entirely sure. But Pat, one of the things that fascinated me, and I'm wondering if there's any way to describe this, he's not fully saturated in the coloring. Talk to me about what's going on and also how an artist would plan this kind of scene.
Well, I think you explained the coloring exactly, right? He's not.
All right, then skip it. Just go on.
The values are lighter, right? So your values are your lightness or darkness. So he's desaturated and the values are lighter. And just like with Superman, Pollard, who super solid artist, his covers are always really cool. You can always see he has a very distinct signature, and his interiors are really cool. He's also playing with the size of the character to give us the impression of, he's further away, and then he leapt forward, but he's at a lower tier now, so now he has to hop back up.
Look at that. I didn't even think of that, Mike, where he's at a lower tier, and then when he's up here, his figure's larger, but now he's gone further away, and then he's leaped up.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Which is really fun.
It's like he teaches comics or something.
It's like so similar thing happening here with Ditko. If this is Ditko, and it does look like Ditko, maybe a later drawing or something, but like there's a lot going on here, huh, Pat? Like he didn't go easy on this one. Whoever drew it.
And I think your first guess was probably right. I think this is probably a tribute. I'm not familiar with the cover, but one of the big differences here is that all the figures are the same value and saturation. Right. So is this 30 Spider-Man or is this Spider-Man in motion? Right. There are motion lines to indicate the motion, but they're not using color the same way.
Yeah. Now, what's the importance of the motion line in this scenario, Pat? Like you see here, they show the arc of the circle and the arc of the circle. And then over here, you also see the arc of the circle. What's the importance of tracing those motion lines? And what would it be if those were not there?
Return of the Spidey clones. Perhaps we'll see. We'll have to read the issue. I have no idea.
Could be.
I don't know.
I don't think
yeah, so the motion lines in these cases are meant to track with the motion, right? So if he's leaping up in an arc, the motion line bends. If he's flipping around that lamppost or the flagpole, it's that ellipse of him flipping around. Again, so the reader understands, oh, well, this pose that's frozen in time is actually part of a larger motion.
Yeah, and I mean, your eye could track how he is going through this, this acrobatic, and it's demonstrating without any words the acrobatic nature of Spider-Man.
Yeah,
read that one out loud, Mike.
And sorry,
motion line seems to give your viewers a path to follow.
Right, the artist is choreographing the motion, right, and hopefully leading you to a payoff.
Now, you can see this happens a lot in Spider-Man, and in a lot of these running type characters, we see this, and we'll show this a couple more times. This appears to be pretty tricky to draw as well, Pat, making sure that the character travels in a circle to create the vortex that's part of this. Could you just talk to me about how you would approach this as an artist?
Right. So just like with the Nick Cardy piece, I would use the motion lines, the ellipses to make sure, okay, my feet are all on the same ground plane. The height, the top of the head is all lining up, and then the height of the head, the knees, the waist, whatever, to make sure that my figure's not changing size as I redraw it in different directions. It's going to change size a little bit, right? Because at the end of the ellipse, it's going to get a little smaller, but not dramatically, right? Because we don't want it to be distracting. So using those motion lines to help us get through, and then keeping track of the pose, right? Because when we draw characters running or walking, right, we move in opposite, right? Your left hand goes forward with your right leg, right? You're opposite. That's how we maintain balance. But it's easy when you're drawing multiple figures to forget a part and mess it up along the way. So keeping track of, where am I in this step, right, is also part of it.
Now, what's interesting about this, and I probably never noticed this before, but like you might have done the saturation on this particular figure because it has the most part of the face, but because the leg is over that figure, it looks like they chose to saturate this figure. Do you think that that might have been part of the production choices? Probably,
right? Because in Western comics, we tend to avoid backs, right? It's all facing the camera. So yeah, I would have thought that same thing, that it would have been the one with the most face. But maybe because the leg crossed over? Yeah, could be.
Obviously, unfortunate end to the Speed Demon. He breaks through the web and then trips down the steps. So much for his speed, huh, Mike?
You wouldn't do that.
Yeah, just like his mom told him, you got to be careful.
Yeah. You got to be careful.
You can't run down those stairs.
I have a question. Does anybody ever know anybody who won one of these 10-speed bikes that were advertised? They ruined the covers of these comics.
Yeah.
Did anybody ever get that? Oh, wait, Andy Seibert had something to say.
Yes, he did. Hi, guys. I like that you can see the top of his head in the back of the ellipse. It shows the depth of the panel and the figure going in a circle.
Wow. Guess Andy Seibert is an art teacher as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an art teacher. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay. Mike, you got to read them out loud. I can't see them.
Remember, kids, don't run down the stairs. And every speedster's kryptonite, mini mall escalators.
All right, good. Okay. Again, we saw a lot of this, but they don't use the lower saturation Why does this one still work, Pat? I have an opinion on it, but tell me.
Well, that's a great question. I mean, I think perhaps the idea is it's meant to be happening so fast, although he's right, because he's talking along the way, he's saying one thing.
Mm-hmm.
The motion's so fast, we don't need to desaturate it. That would be my guess, right? Other than the fact that he's moving closer to us. So he starts smaller, and then by the end of the track, he's larger.
I think part of it is that the dialogue guides your eye to understand the arc of the motion. Although, my eye would have gone this way, but, I think part of it is, like I said, you get that exposition in there, you get that dialogue in there, and that guides the eye. But like you said, in the background, what you said, the values are desaturated also in the background to keep your eye in the foreground.
The background is so plain, it works.
Immo, in my opinion. All right, here we go. I always loved this one. This was a pretty cool one. Once again, Pat, and if you were on a deadline, would you draw a panel like this?
I don't know. That's pretty awesome, right? And look, just the anatomy there is so awesome to be able to get all that foreshortening. And you're really thinking about how Spider-Man's twisting around and turning over. That's super impressive.
And then also executing the karate chop to the neck, where, just the ability to fit this in all in one panel. He maintains the figure in the entire panel. I don't have the entire page, but I don't know if this is a splash page or a panel within a larger page, but it is incredible, including this pose here, which is obviously covered by the main pose. I'm always blown away by this panel. Mike, what do you think?
I think it's pretty impressive. I wouldn't be able to draw it.
Could you do a karate chop like that?
I could definitely do the karate chop part, but not the rest of the.
Yeah. Pat could do it. Pat's got like a belt of karate fighting. Mike, you got to read him out.
This Spider-Man issue reminds me of the Spider Island preview with Spidey and Shang-Chi sparring. I love continuous art like this.
Me too.
And Andy Siebert says, "Is this Romita Sr.?"
I think it is. If we were to look it up, I think 147 is right around Romita or
Could
around
be Ross
that.
Andrew.
Oh.
Maybe Ross Andrew. Yeah.
And then Blank Stare says, "I wonder if this trick would work with bulkier and heavier characters. What would a Hulk or Thing version of this look like?"
Oh, hey,
Yeah,
Pat.
bud. Got any pictures of that?
I might have some pictures in here that are interesting, but obviously the fastest man alive. They do this a lot with this character. Pat, what do we're going to start just moving through them a little faster. Tell me what you're seeing here as an artist, and Mike, you too.
This has an extra layer of trickery, right? Because you see multiple images, but then you see the lines in between the legs. Mm-hmm. So like literally showing us the motion in staggered steps, which is really interesting. He's right. This is like looking at the keyframes of animation while the in-betweens are still being done.
Wow. And then over here, there's a lot going on here. I think when you first look at this cover, it looks pretty simple, but as you give it a little bit better of a look, this cover does look very simple, the one on the right. But as you look at it, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, the breaking apart the time as he falls into this pothole, and also the combination of the figures that get the full value versus those that get the lighter value is different from what we've seen before too.
Now, why would we have saturation on these three versus desaturated on the others?
Well, I think to show the the stages that he's going through, right? As this tragedy befalls him. You know, if it's not mini mall escalators, it's potholes.
The Flash is what multi-action panels were made for. Yeah.
I agree with you. Let's show a few more. This is pretty cool. This is, and I will note that I've tried to give credit where I found these around. What I thought was kind of neat was how many different ways the artist showed speed in these particular panels. So in this one, you show the multi figures in one panel, starting off facing in this direction, then at launch, then moving more into a running position, and then that full out run right there in one panel. Then, of course, vibrating through a wall, which everybody knows that the Flash not only can run really fast, he can vibrate his individual molecules so that they can go through a wall. And then this one where he's literally turning the corner and showing the swoosh as he turns around the corner, but his speed continues to, I don't know why those rocks are following. I don't know if they were shooting at him or whatever, but they are explaining this in great detail. And in that era, he's like, got to use super speed, stay away to the shockwave explosion. Then the editor actually goes in here and explains that by vibrating his body at hyperspeed, the amazing Flash can penetrate solid wall because his molecules of his body in super vibration slide past the molecules of the wall. I would have read that as a kid and I would have been like, yeah.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
Do it again. Do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, back then they were pretty egotistical. They were like, look at me. I'm just going to get through still untouched. Look at me. I'm untouched.
Of course.
No one can touch me. I'm the Flash.
Are those rocks being thrown from his speed force?
Right. Now in modern comics today, things would have been decompressed. This would have happened over 6 issues. This is 3 panels. You're like, I can't believe it. A little bit more. Once again, Marvel's answer to the Flash, one of the coolest costumes ever. They give this guy a green costume with a lightning shoulder strap and belt like some sort of crossing guard, and then gray hair, because what's more terrifying than that guy? But in this, we do see the cover pulls through the promise. This would be Ramita Sr. And, you know, he's so fast. Once again, Pat, he's not taking the easy way out. Like, he's got some sort of elliptical turn. Right. It's a little bit brave there, right? He pushed the envelope.
Yeah. And notice there on the cover, 3 out of the 4 images, we see the face.
Ah, there you go. 1, 2, and 3. And then right here.
And that guy, right? He's like, I can't do it. I can't figure out how to get his face. So 3 out of 4.
And then over here, you know, he shows that he can't be hit. He's just too fast, like Muhammad Ali. Just couldn't connect him. He floats like a butterfly. And then over here, he's just doing the thing, doing the spinning thing, and says, instead of lessening his speed, but like, look at the exposition, right? He's like, if you'd only slow down just once, right? And like, they're explaining it. And that's how old 60s comics were. They had to explain it because they had to assume every comic might be somebody's first issue. So you had to explain each of these new characters. And then in this wonderful panel, what's going on here, Pat? What's going on with the fist here?
This is pretty cool. Like, this is the idea here, presumably, is that Spider-Man's being hit multiple times, right? Hence each little explosion, even though we're only showing the figure one time, really. But he's got a couple of hands. He's got a couple little effecty bits. So we are to assume he's being pummeled at super speed.
But you can't beat Spider-Man because he can anticipate the arc of what's this guy's name, Mike? Quicksilver. I was going to call him the Wizard.
There was
Remember
a
the
character.
Wizard? They were like, we need another fast character. How about the Wizard? What could go wrong with that?
Yeah.
So apparently, Quicksilver can't vibrate through objects.
That's right. Spider-Man knows the Flash, so
Oh, look, he can't run through an object.
Yeah.
He could have said, because that's DC comic stuff.
Yeah. Oh, we got I think we got a new viewer.
Wait, a new viewer?
Indeed.
Let's give him a warm welcome. Thank you for joining us, Jeff. How would you say that?
He says plot holes or potholes. That was
Plot
going back
holes
to
or
the Flash
potholes?
ones. You know where else they did speed lines and things like this?
Where's that, Mike?
In Family Circus, the cartoon.
Oh yeah, they did. All right, so here we go. We continue on. Now, this is the traditional way. If I were going to do a transformation of the Hulk, I would do it in 3 panels like this. I would go like, one, here's the Hulk. He's got his eyes closed, and then they show the half a face, and then they go the face. That's very clear, but that's not a multi-action panel, right, Pat? This is just a traditional. What would you call this when you don't change the angle or the shot at all?
So in McCloudian terms, this is moment to moment, where each panel represents the next moment in time.
What would we call this in Quinnian terms?
I call it moment to moment.
Moment to moment.
I'm not going to argue with the man.
Andrew Campbell, I assume speed lines were more prevalent in the 80s. Yes, probably.
Yeah, I mean, well, the examples Buddy has, a lot of them are coming from the 60s.
60s. Glenn is mad at Family Circus.
Yes, I don't know why. What do you got against Family Circus, Glenn?
Wow. Yeah, now this is a moment to moment, right?
Yep.
But we do change the camera, the camera angle a little bit as the Hulk comes closer to the camera, right? Yeah. Change the background. But look, he actually uses the line, "You won't like me when I'm angry."
Oh, that's a good line.
Wink,
that's
wink,
a good line.
Judge.
All right. Once again, still showing the traditional way of doing this. This is a very slow version of the sequence. Pat, what is the importance of the way this storytelling is done, considering at the time kids were probably being introduced to the Incredible Hulk from the TV show? This must have been around the 70s when kids were discovering the Incredible Hulk through the TV show with Lou Ferrigno.
Probably. I mean, it looks like Sal Buscema.
It does look like Sal Buscema, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, like you said, it's just creating that segue and letting us know that, yes, the Hulk does transform. He changes back. And this one, right, the camera is static, right? It stays in the same place. We get the moment to moment. So the change in scale here is really important, right? Like, look at the panel size is the same, but look at how tight it is on the Hulk versus Bruce Banner.
Right.
Right. Bruce Banner is much smaller, so he's taking up less real estate there. So we get that understanding as well.
Yeah, but Bruce Banner's pretty jacked if you look at this.
He is. I mean, maybe he runs.
maybe he does. What's Jared Olson saying here?
He says Family Circus rules, and I call on not me to haunt all those who disagree.
Wow.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I like Family Circus. All right, here we go. But this is
wait, looks like we got a new viewer. Henry Jeremek.
Wow, welcome to the show, Henry. Hold on, let's give him a good feel. Welcome, Henry. Welcome to the show. We're glad to have you. So that would be Sal Buscema and Ernie Chan inking, I guess, is what he's suggesting there.
I would buy that.
All right, here we go. Now that we get into that, now we see what I would suspect once again is Sal Buscema. This is our what do we call it, Mike? Oh, multi-action panels.
Multi-action panels.
What are you seeing here, Pat Quinn?
Well, here it is all strung together, right? But because it's all happening in a single panel, it's happening faster, right? So in the previous example, time is being slowed down, right? Because you have multiple panels. So each one is a separate moment in time. Here, time is condensed, right? Or at least that's the theory, the idea, right? Because you're doing it all in a single panel, which is funny because when I was looking for examples of this, I avoided the transformation stuff. I thought
Because you thought you were better than me?
Because I was looking for motion explicitly rather than just multiple images.
Well, actually, I phoned a friend. I called Sean Shen, and he gave me a couple of ideas. So I can't say all the ideas are mine. In fact, a couple of the ideas were brought to me by Sean Shen, who you see me thank him in the credits. Another Flash example showing how fast he's moved. I think we got the idea here. This one is kind of interesting because you can see the Flash from the deep background unpacking his costume, which, as we all know, hides inside of his ring. Mike, when you got married, did you get a costume inside your ring?
I did, but I can't show it on camera.
Yeah, I have in my wedding ring, I have a tracking device. and it gets hot. It gets hot if I'm near trouble.
The farther away from Transformers Transforming has some good transitions.
I should have thought of that one. But what's interesting about this one is that like there's a lot going on here because you have to show him sort of blurred in the background based on the motion, and then he progressively gets a little bit clearer, a little bit sharper as the costume swoops around him. You can see him in motion pulling on the boots, pulling down the mask, and then he is, in sharp focus. I think there's a lot more that's going on here in a single panel until you really analyze it.
For sure. And this is, with digital coloring tools, you can do a lot. You'll notice like the lines are knocked down, right? And you can do that either in the inking phase by thinning out your ink, which I think Francis Manipal does with a lot of that rendering, right? You see the different values in there. I don't know if he does it with his contours, but then the digital colorists can do what's called a color hold, right? Where they take that line weight and instead of keeping it black, they turn it into something else. And that helps set in this case, the figures back further. You can do it in backgrounds, right? He's changed the outlines on the lightning bolts around there from black to red.
Look at that, huh? See all those things we don't notice? Okay, I'm going to go through these a little bit faster. I decided this one was a good one because this is like a tour of the Flash's powers, right? Like, oh, you're fast enough that if you get up some speed, you could run up a wall. Once you're up the wall, you can do this ghosting effect. We didn't know the Flash was so acrobatic. Then he can show, of course, Mike, vibrating his molecules directly through a floor. This guy's like, what's going on? He's like, I vibrate directly through the floor. I believe he's spinning, hurricaning like a propeller down. And then he just takes a minute. He's going to say, not just this person, but this person over here. Just a classic example. This was the one that I used for the cover. And I just thought this was great because the editor, once again, takes a moment to explain. Mike, you want to read the editor's note?
I can read it. Editor's note: with perfect control over all the atoms and molecules of his body, the Flash can vibrate these particles in tune with any solid object and slip through it like water through cloth.
Wow. Like water through. And he actually puts the asterisks here, right here. There's the asterisk right there. They're like, I can frequency of 1,000,000 times a second. And then the editor's like, I better explain that. Better explain that one because no one's going to understand that he can go through like water through a cloth.
So when you're concerned about a friend or family member getting a degree in particle physics, know that comic book editing is a job for them.
That is true.
Yes.
And also, I would like to note that I have lived in many houses. I have never had a wall this solid, ever. Like, you see this wall? Like, this wall is just a bunch of hash marks. You're like, that is a serious wall. Like, and with the angles for the strength.
Maybe it's one of those safe rooms.
Maybe, but he went through. This is a curtain room. It looks like the windows match. There's other curtains, but like, yeah, he was serious. Now here's another one. This one, again, going left to right, showing how he goes from large to small. And as he's converting, the costume, for some reason, not 100% sure. He just does it, but it looks like, actually, is he explaining it here?
Yes, the costume. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. It says the costume became fully visible.
Fully
So
visible.
maybe it was on him the whole time and just couldn't be seen.
Yeah, the Bronze Age and Silver Age, they would like do anything, and they would just
further apart, and then as he shrinks, they come back together. And
oh, interesting.
It's science, Mike.
It's that Mr. Fantastic cloth, whatever he always uses.
Molecules.
Unstable molecules, yes.
Yeah, I don't know why he looks like this in this first panel here.
He's very angry.
He's wearing a shirt and tie, and then suddenly he's just in a leotard, and you're like, well, there you go.
Look at this one from Drawn Swords. He sprays it out of an atomizer.
Oh, all right, Mike, I did get one in here for your favorite artist, Alex Ross, the one on the right, leaping out of the phone. Is that a great one or what? That's
a good one. Good old Alex.
And then the Adam on the cover showing this guy. I don't know why he suddenly gets naked in the middle.
That's the costume. I can't quite match the molecules yet.
So yeah, he's wearing a white shirt, and then he just kind of gets naked for a minute, and then all of a sudden the costume's on.
Everybody has to be naked at some point, bud.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, that's Ariel Olivetti. I know Ariel. He's a friend. All right. Yeah, I should. Once again, this one is, I think he's going up. Is he going up or down in this particular image?
I think he's probably going up since he's Giant Man.
But he starts off as Ant-Man, I guess, right?
Yeah, and then he goes to Giant Man.
Oh, yeah. And then look, the Wasp is trapped over here. And then he explains that he's about to shrink. Okay. Shrinking so fast, I can see myself change. I'm becoming smaller and smaller, and it's working faster than expected, too fast. Like really got to make sure it's clear.
Yeah.
But they didn't put the asterisks in there to explain the science.
The editor was gone that day.
This was a Marvel book.
No.
So anyway, special thanks to Glenn Herdling, Sean Chen, and Nelson DeCastro. And also to our guest, Pat Quinn. Pat, we love having you. You're always welcome. Let's give Pat another round of applause.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
The professor of comics. And Pat, we have a very special episode. By the way, I'll be putting all of these links in there if you wish to continue reading on about your characters in motion. We're going to try and give credit where credit is due. And Mike and I have a new thing to announce today. Mike, why don't you tell them what we're doing here?
We're putting together playlists that Buddy and I use for helping us write, something to relax, something you enjoy listening to when you're writing. So we put together a bunch of playlists and the songs that we like to hear.
Yeah. So if you go to our homepage and you click on playlists, there's all these different playlists. Mike and I meticulously make sure that the videos are filed in the playlist. I don't know if anybody ever goes there, but hopefully you can go there. Mike, I listen to a lot of music with no lyrics when I write. I also will listen sometimes to songs that will get me hyped up or brought down specifically for the moment. If I'm writing something about crime, I will listen to something criminal. If I need to do like a bank heist, I'll do like something fast. But then primarily if I'm writing, it's usually silence, but sometimes I will indeed go in there and put a little bit of music on in the background. What are you primarily listening to? And Pat, the question's going to come to you next.
Usually,
what do you listen to, Mike?
I usually go for 80s pop, but then there's some other things thrown in with some country music, some little John Denver here and there, and then I'll even sometimes go with just classical stuff.
But when you're on the keyboard, Mike,
when I'm on the keyboard,
do you listen to music while you're on the keyboard?
Yeah, it's generally 80s stuff.
You can listen to lyrics and write?
Yeah. I can multitask.
Wow. I cannot. It has to be music without lyrics. And then do you listen to anything if you're like, I have to write a particular scene for something? Do you like use it to get you revved up? Like, we're going to write a crime scene. You
It depends. If I'm doing like an action scene, I will put on some more like heavy stuff to really get, the action flowing. Yeah. But if it's a nice relaxing scene, then I will put on classical and just kind of mellow out to the tunes.
Yeah, so we're gonna try and update this. We're trying something new because we love you guys and appreciate you guys. Want to show you behind the curtain. Pat Quinn, what kind of music do you? I agree, Andrew. These shows do go too quick. Pat Quinn, what do you listen to when you're doing the art thing or the writing thing?
So when I'm thumbnailing, it's generally silent because that's the most thinking, right? When you're trying to turn it from words to pictures and use the page layout and all the tools at your disposal. And then when it goes to penciling and inking, we were talking before the show. Now with satellite radio, Sirius XM does stuff by genre and decade. So I'll be like, okay, first wave, 80s, Hair Nation. What's the I think it's LL Cool J has a classic rap. So I just kind of hop around, right? And that is honestly a problem because sometimes if I'm like, I hate that song, right? Because then you gotta look for something else. So
Takes you out of the moment.
Yeah, if that happens too much, I'm like, forget it. I'm putting a movie on.
Forget it. I'm not even going to do the thumbnails.
Blank Stare says at the end of this video, everyone should write their favorite writing songs in the comments.
Oh, I agree.
They should. Yes,
and Mike, we're going to commit to.
So Mike's eye twitch when you said Hair Nation. Oh, that's my.
Oh man, that's cold drawn sword.
Sorry, there's a lot of that going around. Don't worry about it.
Anyway, guys, we're going to try and keep up our playlists. We're going to try to add a couple each week, right, Mike? This way, every week when you come back, you get a couple additional songs. And then, please, everybody, leave your likes, your comments, do your subscribey things. And listen, at the end of the day, we're grateful to see you. Hold on, let's get the music. Did I get the music right?
Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
There you go. Anyway, like, comment, and subscribe. We always appreciate seeing you. We do this show for you. We want to say thank you also to Pat Quinn for joining us on short notice. Thank you so much, Pat. And we will see you again next Tuesday for Comic Book School Live. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Good night.